Right, look at the state of my compressor. I should be ashamed. It does live underneath the stairs, and that is mainly dog hair, so all the crap that comes off the dogs and people's shoes, it just gets put onto my poor compressor. It's 200 litre, 3 horsepower, single phase. Now what I am going to do before I really get into it is I'm just going to clean all this crap off. Essentially what's happening is, it's as if it's stalling, if that makes sense. As it's building up air, I did turn it on to see if it would do it, and typically enough, it didn't do it. But what seems to happen is, I was worried it might be the motor that's actually kind of seizing up, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's maybe the actual motor side of that's actually seizing up. The big wheel tends to kind of stick and stop where the motor is still spinning like crazy. Now it could just be a really simple case of a dodgy belt. Belt might need replacing, could be too loose. Or we could actually be having kind of engine problems where the actual part that sucks in the air makes the air. This fella here could be causing problems. Now all that crap and crud that's on it, that won't be helping because it won't be able to cool down. So it could be even getting too hot, and it could just be a case of just cleaning it off, and it really could be as simple as that. So I'm just going to clean all the crap off it outside, and then we'll get to doing it. I'm going to service it as well, and then we'll see what happens. Right, I took off the actual cage that goes over the belt, and it's just these little plastic clips. You just turn them 90 degrees and they lock, and you turn 90 degrees and they come out. And there were 6 of them. This was the old belt. As you can see, it has definitely seen better days. Now I've had this compressor since 2003. I got it new, so I have to say it has done well. I've only ever changed oil in about 3 times since then, which I'm ashamed to admit, but there you go. I've never changed the belt. The belt was really, really loose. I went down to my local lawnmower place that services lawnmowers. I got a belt, but I couldn't get a filter. Now he's getting me a filter, but I'm going to have to stick this one back in for the meantime. But he got a belt. Now what I did is, because I'm not sure how tight or loose this belt should be, I didn't move the actual motor, because you move the motor, the electric motor, left or right to actually make this belt loose or tightener. So I didn't do that. I got it, I put it half on, and I got a screwdriver, wedged the screwdriver, and just turned this by hand. Now, if you are going to do that, make sure it's powered off and make sure there's no air in it. If you power this and turn this, you could kick this into life and you'll have no fingers left. So that's what I did. And this belt is the same size as the one that came off it. So I'm hoping this should more or less be the right kind of tension. Now, as regards the car, as long as you can turn it 90 degrees and then it's hard, that's tight enough for a car. But I'm not sure if it's going to be tight enough or too tight for this. But it's on. Another good thing is, this wheel is also a fan. Now when this spins round, it cools down the actual motor, so make sure you get all the crap and dust off this fan, because if it gets caked up with heavy dust and stuff, it can actually affect the cooling of the motor. Now this is put underneath my stairs, so all the crap comes on it. Well, you could see before I cleaned it off, it was unreal. The old place I had it in, there's a lot of overspray over it because I couldn't put it in a separate place, a separate garage to where I work. I still can't even do that now, but it's always best if you can, because it just, you know, just with the dust and the noise and everything. But I can't do that. So I'm going to strike this up now and see if this works. It's definitely better than the old belt. I'm going to let it heat up. I'm going to change the oil. And that really is essentially it. I drain the water, about a litre, well, just under a litre of water in it. I do keep on top of draining the water. But I have to say, this really hasn't let me down in all that time. I haven't done anything. I barely touched it, only serviced it a few times, never changed the belt, never changed the filter, which is kind of embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. The only thing that I had a problem is the drain plug I'll show you broke. I don't like the way the drain plug is, so I put a better one on it. And this here, this is a separate water separator for when I'm spraying. And I don't like the way this is either. It's a little twist knob, and what you do is you twist it to let the water out, and it helps separate the water from the spray line. I think it could just have like a better on and off switch. Oh, a better on and off switch like this rather than that one that's on it. I personally don't like that. But that really is just a niggly thing. This is the only thing that broke on me, and as you can see, I've actually put like a proper, still a bit of water in, a proper switch on that, or a lever, just helps separate the water. But that wasn't a big deal, that just broke, but again, not a big deal. That's where the air filter screws on, so I'm just going to screw that back until I get a new air filter. Change the oil, which is just going to be minging, but before I change the oil, I'm going to actually heat this up by turning it on. So the air filter just goes in this little cradle here. And it really is as simple as that. The only other thing that come on, the little stop switch here that you press down, and if it's only halfway through its cycle, you press it down, it releases the pressure. That came off as well, but I have the switch, so that's the only things that's ever happened to this. And considering I haven't really looked after it in all them years, I think it's done very well. So I'm going to put this on and see what happens. At the minute it's okay. Shouldn't really have the cover off this, but the old belt was slopping up and down really, really badly. Hopefully you can hear me over the noise of it. The other thing is, kind of halfway through its build-up, it would slow down. It looks like the motor is still spinning, but it looks like the actual engine side of things was seizing or doing something. I'm not sure if it was because the belt was slipping, if the engine was overheating, or the engine is slightly seizing. But when you look at the old belt, how worn it is a good thing that maybe it was slipping. Which if it was brilliant, because it saved me having to buy a new compressor, which I don't have the money for. So I'm going to let this build up. I'll leave the camera running. If it doesn't stop, like it normally does, I'm going to drain it, and I'm going to let it kick back in again, and I'm going to see if it does, and try and catch it on camera. What I can do is I can put the cage back on, because I don't need to get back here. If I need to adjust the belt, I can have the cage on, so I'll do that now. It's certainly a lot quieter. So these just go in and then turn 90 degrees. Just like that. Now what I did to stop that rattling, I put a cable tie. I'm going to do that again, join it back up with here, because that just rattles and it's annoying. When you hold it like that, it doesn't rattle. You let go, rattles. Just like that. Just stops that horrible rattling noise. I'm going to let this fill up, cut off. I'm just going to let some air out, enough for it to kick back in. I'll leave the camera running. I'm going to do that 2 times, maybe 3 times. By then the oil is going to be plenty hot enough, and not only that, I'm going to be able to see if this stops like it did before. It could have just been a loose belt, which would be absolutely brilliant. But if it's not, I'll capture it on camera. And yeah, I mean the actual electric motor was constantly spinning, which is a good thing, because it means, because the electric motor is what spins this, so it did just kind of look like a slipping belt. Because this belt is thicker now, because obviously the belt is worn, so it was slipping on the big wheel a lot easier. It's just, fingers crossed, that's it. Right, so there we go. It's just knocked off. But now the next time this kicks in, it should be harder, because there's going to be no pressure Oh, sorry, the first time it kicked in, it would be easier because there was no pressure in here at all. I'm just going to let a bit of pressure off, just enough to kick it in, which should put it under more pressure because there'll be pressure in here. And let's see if it spins. If it doesn't spin or if it starts thinking, then we do have a problem. Well, I suppose it could still be slipping. We'll see. We'll see. As long as this gear is spinning really well, we'll see if it's slipping. So let's just. There we go, it kicked up fine. I'm going to do that one more time, and if it does it, I'm going to call it a fix, which is great. And then we'll drain the oil. Simples! Right, the reason you didn't see the compressor going is because it didn't do it, it just kept spinning. I released the pressure just until the compressor kicked in to make sure there's more pressure in the tank to see if it would struggle. Absolutely perfect. So it was just a loose belt, which is obviously the best thing it could be for me, because otherwise it would have, well, it could have been a new compressor. Now the engine oil is definitely warmed up. You can see it here. The level is perfect, so we're not too low on oil because it's right in the middle of this little glass bubble, which is where it's supposed to be, but it's just old oil. Now there is special compressor oil, which I'll show you in a second. Even though I haven't done this a lot, I've always used the right special compressor oil. This is just going to go everywhere. Actually, that is not as bad as I was expecting. To be fair, that oil, is, as you can see, is still quite good. Right, well that's... I was expecting worse than that. No lumpy bits in it, there's no filings, is there? Just see. No. I'm actually presently surprised with that. Let's just undo this. This is where you fill it. I'm not sure exactly how much oil goes in this. I've got a litre, which I'm sure is enough. But there did seem to be quite a lot come out of it. It's like a little oil breather as well. Right. Quite happy with that. Well, in fact, I'm really happy with that. I was expecting a hell of a lot worse. I'm just going to let that completely drain out. This is the oil I'm using. It's a Sealy oil, CP1 or CP01S. It's a special mineral oil for compressors. So it is proper to use proper oil for what you're using. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I was expecting that to be just, well, hopefully not full of sparkly bits, because that means then some serious damage, but I was expecting it to be, well, that still shows a bit of oil in there. So what's going on there? It's not fully drained out yet. Still seems to be a good bit of oil, so I'm just going to let that completely drip out. I'll turn the camera back on once I'm happy I've got it all out. What I might do is just see if I can force it out. There we go. Can save a bit of time. You'll never get all the oil out, it's just like a car. But you can certainly get most of it out. So I'm happy enough with that now. A bit overkill on the old ratchet, but the old brake cleaner on that now, and pour some oil in. So it is, you just cut the top off, and I should just be able to pour it directly from this. So I'm just going to pour it until we get about halfway up on this little glass bowl. There we go, we're getting there now. Got to be careful, I don't want to overfill it. And then I'll let it go through like a cycle of build up. Let it cool down for a few minutes. Recheck the level. No point me showing you that, but that's what I'm going to do. Once I've done that, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll see if it does sound any different with the fresh oil in. I'm putting oil in, but we don't seem to be going up on the scale, and we're close to nearly a litre in it. There we go. Now, doesn't take much for that little thing to shoot up. That's more or less, I'd say that's about down to there. That's on the, well, it's in the middle. So I'm just going to let this go through a cycle. So I'm going to completely drain the air out and let it go through its own full cycle again. Let it cool down for a few minutes and then see where that level is after a few minutes. Well, that's it, drop that in the oil. There you go, good lad. Right in the oil. Yeah, just lovely. Right, my battery went dead, so I don't know what I caught, but I essentially let it run through another cycle, drained it and let it completely come up just to make sure my oil level is okay. Make sure we've got no oil leaks and everything looks good. It does sound a little bit quieter. They're kind of noisy anyway. So that was really a lucky escape for me. It's a thing I should really look after a lot more, because without my compressor, I am kind of screwed. You know, all my tire machines and everything like that all runs off compressed air, and you know, I've still got a lot of air tools I use, so it is one of them things. So yeah, that's just like a service of it. Seems to be going okay, which is good. But I want you to tell me, what kind of things do you neglect in your garage or at home or whatever you happen to do, because everybody always has something that they don't particularly look after, which they should. I am going to make it, you know, look after it a lot better. I don't know for how many more years it's got left. You know, once these start leaking and stuff, you're kind of screwed. Even though there's a little bit of surface rust, but nothing major, we'll see. So yeah, tell me what you kind of neglect and should look after a bit better, but that's it. Done. It's still working. It's going to save me a fortune. Don't have to buy a new one. And yeah, sorted. So that's it. So yeah, same as usual. I hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. Links down below, links up here, but most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.